Hello, everybody. This is Joe from the Middle Ground Mike. We're here to talk a little bit about the NFL draft coming up. Of course, Lions gear, Jared Goff jersey. So I got the new draft hat. You can see this is fit of one, and then we also got this one right here, which is I like. It's got the little. It's like a little. It's hard to see. It's a little wheel. Um, that it's kind of like a pin, I guess, is one of the things they're doing for it this year. Definitely a different style. I know the style isn't most people's type of thing, right? So let's dive into it a little bit. Some of the big news today for the Lions is Jamison Williams could possibly be on the trade block. Some people are saying no. Some people are saying team sources say no. But then there's other people who are saying, well, we're hearing yes. So it's more just about, is he legitimately on the trade block? He's had some issues getting suspended for gambling, though he got suspended for the gambling was technically what he was gambling on was legal even by the NFL standards, but he was literally not outside the hotel room, outside the hotel building off the concrete. So because he was that little bit right there is why he got suspended, which is kind of petty. But the rest of it, like the PEDs, he took something to help him. You've got agents, you've got doctors. You shouldn't be getting suspended for that kind of stuff. You just shouldn't. You're a grown man. You should know better. He's a darn good receiver. Last year, I believe it was his first year over 1,000 yards. It's even with him being suspended a little bit. Um, so the question is do the Lions trade him? According to one article, the Lions are wanting a first round pick for Jamison Williams. I don't think they would get that unless it's another first round pick that's lower in the draft, like, low 20s, maybe late teens. Because maybe then you could package it and trade up, package it and trade a little bit further back and get extra picks. I don't know. But, I heard on the radio, they're like, hey, if you get rid of Jameson Williams, who takes off the top of the offense, or the defense? Who's going to do that? And that's definitely a good question because I haven't heard anything about the Lions talking to receivers of any legitimacy or nothing. So, let's hope that, Brad Holmes continues to know what he's doing because he's built a pretty darn good roster over time. A couple of the teams that I am hearing Jameson Williams may go to are, where's it at? I believe the Bears, because naturally the Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson went there, but the Bears have upgraded at receiver, so that would be a tough sell for them to do it. The Raiders need a receiver as well to go with Geno Smith and Ashton Genty. I think that's how you say his name. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, the Raiders like to make bad decisions. I mean, they're like the Lions of the old. They love to make bad decisions. So who knows? Maybe they'll kind of swing that towards us. The Cowboys, another team that's made a lot of bad decisions lately. So let's see. Maybe they go our way. Williams would be a perfect complement to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, both speedsters would give Dak Prescott a lot of options. Another team two teams they're saying are the Saints and Cardinals. The Cardinals possibly, but with Marvin Harrison, you could really get somebody who is not top tier that maybe like a wideout too that wouldn't cost a ton of money when it does come time to re-sign him because they're saying Jameson Williams could command $20 million a year. The Saints, that's I guess you kind of got to see where you're going to go at with quarterback first because Derek Carr is here nor there, and plus the rumor is that they might take Shedeur Sanders, and if he does, they're not going to give up a first round pick, which is what the Lions want. So they'd have to give up an early second round pick, which, that's kind of hard for pretty much any team to do. The Lions also need to really, really, really look at, getting another second edge rusher. You can't rely on Aiden Hutchinson all by himself all the time. Which is kind of when last year, I feel like that was kind of what exposed our secondary a little bit more and, things of that nature. And they cut Zadarius Smith. I get why, but, we should be figuring out a way to make it work with him, and see if we can get him back because, he's definitely got one of the higher pressures. And, you got him and Hutch and Now they're saying they don't know if Aleem McNeil is going to be back for the start of the season. Probably not. So, that's another question mark. And you just paid him. So those are some of the things that the Lions are facing. And some other Lions news. Now we know what that crazy ticket price increase was for. The Lions had a brand new locker room in Allen Park, the training facility. It was a tough decision for me to, kind of give up my season tickets because, it's just the prices went up so fast, so high. And I still plan on going to some games. I'm still going to buy all my Lions gear and everything. It was just, I had to get a lot of things done around the house and dental work, and that all costs money. And it's between the Lions and that, that's kind of where it's got to go. But, I had seen a thing on CBS that said the Lions had the highest average ticket price for this coming season, like when it's averaged out. And if that is true and that stays the case, what a terrible thing for them to do to us. They were bad for so long, and I get it, and I'm not blaming anybody that's there now for that, but you haven't even won a Super Bowl. You haven't even won an NFC championship. In the Super Bowl winning team, they won two in the last 4 or 5, 6 years, whatever it was. They're cheaper than you. That's a slap in the face to everybody who's stayed by you, no matter how bad you have been, filled that stadium for the most part. We showed up, tailgated, bought your merchandise, loyal, went to all the events, and you're going to raise our rates that high, that fast, and you're going to be more expensive than a Super Bowl champ? Come on, Detroit. We got to do better. But that's just kind of what that is. We don't need to get on that soapbox. We can just move on from that, and just talk some other NFL draft rumors. Some other NFL draft rumors coming up they are saying the Browns and the Giants are feeling trade calls for their picks. That's kind of a. Do they really want to do it? Do you really not? I guess it depends on how they look at their quarterback situations because, we all know the Deshaun Watson problem over there in Cleveland. And I don't know, Cleveland seems for some degree wants to stick by him, though he hasn't been good since he was in Houston. The Tennessee Titans, I guess, were rumored, but their general manager said that they will not be trading their picks. So who knows, but it could be, smoke screen. There's teams that are looking to trade up so that they can get Travis Hunter, from Colorado. They're looking at Penn State's Abdul Carter or Boise State running back Ashton Genty. I'm probably butchering that name. I'm terrible with names. Hunter would be a great asset. I don't really know a whole lot about Ashton. Abdul Carter would be good. Travis Hunter would be good. For any of those teams. It'd be nice if one of those guys somehow had some kind of crazy thing come up and they fell to my Lions, but we all know that's not happening. Not anytime soon. Some people are saying now that, Shedeur might fall down to the late first round, but I don't see that happening. Do I question how well he can do in this league? I'm not a pro scout, so I don't know, but it's with some of the reactions he had when he was at Colorado. I think it's a fair question. Like, hey, what does this look like? Can this guy handle that? Because his dad won't be the coach, or could be, but probably won't. And these owners, while they may entertain his dad to a point because of who he is, at some point they're going to want to win football games because football games make them money, and things of that nature boost sales. So we shall see on that one. I hope the best for Shedeur because there are games though he did look like a stud out there, but some of that decision making that's he's young. They the Jaguars will surprise everybody with their pick. I do not know about that. Don't really pay attention too much to Jacksonville, but apparently the rumor is that Jacksonville may look at trading it, or I think who is Mason Graham. Okay, there we go. Is who they're kind of rumored to pick, but who knows? I guess it's kind of a wild card. I think if the right offer came up, the Jags would definitely take it. Jalen Milroe, some people are saying is a QB3. Um, you know, I don't know. They did say that Brown general manager Andrew Berry really likes him. He could be on the next Lamar Jackson, but I think it's really unfair to compare any player to that because that's a very, very, very high standard to set a rookie to, and you're just kind of setting him up to fail. Can he have a similar skill set? Yes, but to set him up that high, no. So those are just a couple of the things. They're saying some teams are going to possibly trade back into the first round to get a quarterback, which would be crazy because they're saying this year's quarterback and wide receiver class are just not that great compared to previous couple of years. So we gotta go from there. The NFL draft is this Thursday. Starts at 8 p.m. My Lions are picking near dead bottom, so well, we will be covering the draft here on the Middle Ground Mike. I am hoping to have a special guest or two that we can talk about the draft with, and maybe we'll live stream it if we can get everything set up for that. And we will go from there, and we'll talk to you guys then. See you then.